For those of you who don't know, I'd like to welcome back Sakula here today. Sakula is the founder of Portland Friends of the Dhamma and the Pacific Hermitage, a lay minister with a Abhayagiri monastery, and our spiritual director emeritus.
That mean I can't get out of it? Just open.
Yes. Turned comedian. And I'd also like to welcome back Alistair, Sakula's husband, and our former board chair, and all the things. It's very sweet to be able to welcome you both back today and to see you here together again. And
I see a lot of faces that are new to me. Like Sakula, Jessica said, I haven't been here for over a year, and it's lovely to be back. I will be sitting in for Jessica the month of November. And Alistair and I will probably be here next week, but we won't be here every week. It'll be a bit spotty. But it really feels, what does it feel? It feels very comfortable to come back into this atmosphere. There's something so uplifting and welcoming and warm to my heart to enter this building and be surrounded by people who are working on being the best, kindest person that they can be. And that includes and we come into contact with recognizing right away in this practice that means a lot of internal work on how we feel about ourselves that gets projected out into the world. And so grateful for the Buddhist teachings, for my teacher, Lumpur Pasano, and all the great friendships that have been built up through this for myself with this lineage, and having the great fortune of having somebody that I felt, that Lumpur Pasano felt was appropriate to take this seat. And so I could retire, which I have. When I first went to Abhayagiri, one of the very first large gatherings, this was about 26 years ago, a couple came in with their little baby. And this just came to me this morning when I was listening to a Dhamma talk. This couple came in with a little baby, and the baby was like 4 months old, had a T-shirt on that read, "Birth, aging, illness, and death." And it had a little box next to each, and the birth was checked off. I always thought that was really great. So I think about that every once in a while, birth, aging, illness, and death. I can check off that birth. And I can check off that illness. And then the aging. And I don't think I'll be able to check. I might have to have somebody else check off the death for me. But it really comes up for me quite strongly. It's quite alive teachings for me now. And I think about what is birth? What is it like to be born? According to this practice now, it's like for years taking on this practice with various people in community, uh, taking on the Upasika program, really developing in community with others on how am I being born into my activities, my mental state, my emotional state, and how do I deal with that according to the Dhamma? And we get a lot of practice when we're in community of watching how we get born into this world through our internal experience. So I'll share a little story about recognizing getting born and that I needed to do something about it. And then people that have been here before I left know that before I retired have heard this story. But others haven't. And so I think it's a good example for me. Very illustrative of getting born and then practicing and feeling some results from this practice, some benefit. I have a hair floating. I'm going to pull that out. So Alistair and I bought a car a year ago in October. It was Halloween night. We had been searching for a particular car for a couple of months. It was really hard to find, not so much because of the car, but because of the color that I wanted. And Alistair kept looking. He found one, but it was down in Salem. And so he called them to say, we can come down and buy that car today, but let's talk about the price. So we negotiated. He negotiated a price. Gentleman said, I'll be here. So we got in the car and we drove down to Salem. It was pitch black, Halloween night, so you have to, and it was raining really hard. So watch out for the children and the adults. Anyway, we get down there and we sit down and salesman on the phone wasn't there. So we got the closure person. And they bring out the list and it's about $3,000 more than we had been told, which is typical for used cars, but we weren't comfortable with that. So we began to negotiate that, well, we don't need this, we don't need that. And we were told that this is the price we came down to purchase the car with. And the person was really forceful and wasn't bending at all and blaming, my boss and blah, blah, blah. And I could feel myself getting really irritated. And so I'm getting born into my irritation. And I'm sitting there just thinking about why am I irritated? Because this person is not being honest with us. So I was also projecting my irritation onto this person. And yes, they weren't being honest, but that doesn't mean I have to get irritated. Finally, Alistair got up and frustrated, went out, and the salesperson followed him out to explain why we had to pay this price. And so I'm sitting in this office by myself, and now I'm not irritated. I'm pissed. I'm mad. And I'm recognizing this is really uncomfortable. I do not like this feeling. I'm really angry, and I'm blaming this person for my anger. And so I sat there like, I don't this is, what would the Buddha do? This isn't Dhamma. I'm really focusing my anger at a particular person, and this feels awful. So what would the Buddha do? And I just sat there just waiting for something to come up. And what came up was, I don't actually have to buy the car. And then the anger was gone because there was nothing to be mad about. Can you not hear? Okay, all right. So I got up and went out, and as soon as I met up with Alistair, the salesperson, went back in. And I told Alistair, I said, do you remember what you said to me just before we left to come out here? And he said, no. And I said, you said we don't have to buy the car. And I said, so let's not buy the car. We don't have to buy the car. But he really wanted me to have the car because I really wanted this car. I wanted this color. It was really, really hard to find. It was a beautiful car, I thought. But I could still recognize that, yeah, I want the car, but I don't have to have it. We can wait. Let's just wait and I don't have to have the blue car. And we can wait for however long. And so we went back in and put on our jackets and just told the salesperson, this isn't working. We don't want the car, and started to walk out. Wait. I just talked to my boss. So we ended up buying the car. And it's parked out in the parking lot. So I recognized, oh, I'm born into this anger and the results of suffering. And if I pay attention, I'm going to pull out another hair. If I pay attention to what would the Buddha do? What would the Buddha say? And just leave it at that and just wait for something to come up. We can recognize, that's what this practice is all about. How do we pay attention? Can we support ourselves to confront our suffering, recognize by confronting that, oh, this is the reality, and being kind to ourselves. I'm not mad at myself for suffering. I'm curious. I'm really curious to why am I suffering? And what would the Buddha do? Would he sit here and just be pissed off at and demand, you treat me like I want to be treated? Damn it. I don't think so. And so, when I recognized that I don't have to buy the car and all this anger fell away, I actually felt compassion for the person who was, being a bit of a jerk. It's like that can't be comfortable either, and she likely didn't recognize that she was suffering. But this practice helps us in that too, to see when somebody else is suffering. If we're not focused on our own issues and projecting them out, we can see and be empathetic with those who are less skilled or not in touch with these teachings. So it's a much more welcoming attitude and kind feeling, and then happiness to have the car I wanted. If I had taken the other road of being angry and tried to force things, I wouldn't have been happy. I would have driven home angry. So being born, okay, check, understanding what is it to be born into this world according to what I can do about it and how I can contribute to the world in a positive, wholesome, empathetic, kind way. That's what the Buddha is teaching us. Check. Illness. we all get ill. I remember once I was working at Abayagiri, helping to dig a trench for some pipes that needed to run into a kuti that was being built. And they have all over the land at Abayagiri, they have poison oak. And I didn't see any poison oak. It was actually a road that we were crossing. The pipeline was going to cross under the road, and I was helping dig. And I had, Bermuda pants that just came up to here, and then sandals on. And I didn't know that poison oak roots will still give you poison oak. And so I'm digging. I'm not paying attention to the fact that there's these roots here, and I'm pulling them out with my hands, and I'm wiping my legs, and I'm also rubbing my legs up against various, because I'm standing in this ditch. And the results was that I got really severe poison oak. And I can remember this was probably 25 years ago. And I got it so bad all through my legs, up my arms. And I can remember lying on our couch, and it was the first time I thought, oh my God, I could die. Because I was really physically suffering. But that, the reality of, oh, I could die didn't really sink in. It was, I am not going to. I'm gonna find my way out of this. I'm strong and I'm young and I can do this. And Luang Por will be so proud of the way I handled this. And and so again, I'm getting born into identifying with my illness. And I'm feeling, like my mind's going all over the place on how inspired I am because I'm strong and I'm young and I'm going to do this. And then a couple months later, I'm sharing this story with Luang Por in over tea, so there's many people around. I didn't say all that stuff. I'm strong and I'm going to do this and you're going to be proud of me. But I didn't have to say it because I was emphasizing it in the way I was sharing. I was really young at the time, and anyway, Ajahn Pasanno never missed an opportunity to train me, to give me a teaching. And so just after tea, he said, hey, why don't a couple of us go up go take a tour. I want to show these people who hadn't just come for the first time. I want to show them the forest. And so he invited me to come, and I'm feeling like, of course he wants me to come. He's so proud of me, and he wants these people to be exposed to me. And one of the nice things about getting older is that you don't get embarrassed as much as one used to. So I can tell these stories and laugh about it, and it doesn't embarrass me anymore. But I've never told this story before. Anyway, so we're going up the hill, and I'm looking at some plant, and I put these little red beads in my hand, and I'm looking at them, and I'm absorbed in the beauty of these beads in the green forest. And I take them over to this woman that was also on the journey, this new person that I hadn't met before. And I walk over there, and I'm showing her these beads. I'm not saying anything because I'm deep in meditation, and this is very profound. And so I take these over here, and she looks at them, and she kind of looks kind of puzzled, and she looks at Lungpor, and Lungpor says, "Yeah, sometimes I see skunk up here. They really stink." And I like threw and that was it. And then he walked off. And I'm like, it's like, well, why would he do that? So I thought that was really, and she just kind of giggled. And when she was a Thai woman, she didn't speak much English. But I got the message that I was acting in a way that was just kind of stinky. It wasn't beautiful, put it that way. So I've I what happens when we get kind of the rug pulled out from underneath us, when our ego gets the rug pulled out, when the rug got pulled out from underneath me in this experience, all of this stuff flashed forward in my mind, that because I held on to the fact that the perceptions that I had built up and I was hanging on to. Lumpur is going to be proud of me. I'm really strong. I'm young. I got over this without complaining to him. I did complain to my husband quite a bit, but Lumpur didn't know that. At least I didn't think he knew that. Anyway, but it comes out, and if we don't, so I had an opportunity to recognize this isn't Dhamma. This isn't beautiful. So this is what, as we get sick, if we hold it inappropriately and don't recognize it, it's not just unappealing to ourselves, but it's especially because we don't even recognize that it's unappealing. But at least I tend to project things outward, trying to hold on to, the reality that I was young and I could handle this, and others will be proud of me or impressed. At the very least, they'll be impressed. So paying attention to the Buddhist practice and practicing with it and seeing this isn't the way to hold illness. Check. And I mean, that lesson really stuck with me. So then there's old age. That's inevitable, and if we live to old age. So I had to have a knee replacement 2 years ago. I got ill last year. I'm recovered now from both, but I have hearing aids, which I forgot to put in my ears today. I got partial dentures. This body's really falling apart. Thank goodness I've learned about being born into my attitudes and had training on where to put my mind for wholesome reasons and emotional benefit and mental benefit. Thank goodness as one gets older, you get sicker. I get sicker a little easier. I take care of my grandchildren twice a week, and they're in grade school, and they're just back in grade school again. So I anticipate I'm going to get the flu and get colds again from being around them. That's okay. But I've got the Buddhist teachings helped me with the birth and the illness and the old age, you know, doesn't really bother me too much, but there is a definite difference, a big difference in what I can do, how long I can do something, when I can do something, why I would even bother. I just have to take a lot more into consideration these days. And that's okay. That's not been as challenging for me as the lessons in being born and the lessons in illness. So, old age, check. And then there's the death. So, um, so I had a diagnosis a few months back. Trying to remember when that was, like 6 months ago, of cancer. And I didn't know for 3 solid weeks on what stage it was, how far it had developed. I didn't know if I had 6 months or 6 years or 20 years. I didn't know. And I didn't want to tell anybody until I knew. And so for 3 weeks, before I did go through all these tests before I found out what was up, I just had to face this possibility of death. I might be dead in 6 months. And this was really, really interesting that I found myself really grieving for life. I didn't want to die. I don't want to die. And I was just like, wow, this is strong, So found out that it was first stage, but it was just 2 millimeters away from breaking through, uh, to breaking through from where it was contained. It was just 2 millimeters away. So they caught it just in time. So then I had to go through, because it was so spread from where it was, I had to go through radiation as well. And that wasn't fun. But I found myself uh, being, because of the practice, I found myself comfortable with being present with whatever was arising for me. There wasn't anger, but there was grief. And I recognized that it was telling people that I truly loved. Those were the hard people to tell. And I found that kind of interesting. And so I sat with that and I was like, oh, it's hard to tell them because I don't want to leave them. I don't want my awareness, wherever it may go next, to not have them in it. Oh, that's interesting. And that's okay. I didn't feel bad about that. I didn't feel like there was anything I needed to do about that. It was just true. I don't want them to be out of my awareness. So then I went through surgery, radiation. It's been a couple of months now that I've been through radiation. All things look swimming. I mean, it couldn't have turned out better. They found no evidence whatsoever of cancer anywhere else. surrounding the area that the cancer was found. That doesn't mean that one cancer cell didn't leak out and I'll get cancer again, but the whole experience was so beneficial. I feel really fortunate to come this close to facing death, because before this, I didn't recognize that I didn't actually understand what it meant to know you're dying, to know, to actually face death. It's always somewhere in the future. It's always down the line. But it wasn't for me. It was right in my face. And so I got to one of the benefits of doing this practice over and over and day after day after month after month after year is that your mind will stay with the practice even as you come close to death. It will just, well, what can I do with this? So I don't know how to explain this, but there was this feeling of very calm joy when I recognize that the Dhamma is still here. I may be dying, I can still practice the Dhamma. And my practice became so energized because I recognized then, okay, I might be gone in 6 months, so let's get some stuff done. Let's pay attention to what defilements am I still running into? And let's deal with them, because I don't want to take them into wherever my awareness may go from here on. I've got a lot of work yet to do. And that just felt really good to have the opportunity to, like, okay, yeah, let's go. So in the past, I would have thought grief was, my ego would have said, don't grieve because, that's not that, or don't let anyone know that you grieve because they won't understand that you're actually more spiritually mature than that. So I could see these things going through my mind, like, and I felt so fortunate that I could see them, because then you can smell the stink. It's like, oh God, there's conceit. That's not where I want to go. That's not what I want to take with me. That habit has got to be addressed. And so as these, because of my good fortune to have a diagnosis of which I didn't know if I'd be living in 6 months or not, and sitting that for 3 weeks, I was energized and very calmly joyful to be so immersed in the practice that even in grief, simultaneous with grief, it's held within the Dhamma. And that was just a really beautiful feeling. Okay, yeah, I'm grieving. Let's see if I can say this but and one of my grievances was leaving this community and leaving Jessica. leaving Alistair. At the same time, I can feel that when I say it, and I can also feel the joy and the beauty and the calmness of this reality being true to myself, even if that means being in grief, that it's held in Dhamma. And what good fortune is that?